We are going to do one calculation of population standard deviation by hand, just so you can see how it's done. And then my next video covers how to use Microsoft Excel to do the same calculation extremely easily compared to the tedious thing we're going to see here. Okay, now we need to get used to some symbols. First of all, this symbol right here, mu, it's the Greek lowercase mu, and it stands for population mean. And then this symbol right here is the Greek lowercase sigma, and it stands for population standard deviation. So before we do this population standard deviation, let's go down here and let's actually find the mean. Now, in this case, we have a very small population. We're talking about a team of 5 basketball players, and we can actually find the mean of the population because it is so small. That's usually not the case. All right, so we're going to add up all of our heights of the 5 basketball players. Remember that a mean is just an average. And then we're going to divide by the number of players that we have, 5. And when we put that into our calculator, we get that the mean height is 75.8. All right, now let's go back to this formula up here for population standard deviation. You'll notice the familiar square root symbol, but then there's an unfamiliar symbol here. It's this Greek letter sigma, that's the uppercase sigma. And in both mathematics and statistics, when we see the uppercase sigma, it means sum them up, add them all up. Now, let's notice what we're adding up. We're adding up x, which will always be our data, minus mu, which is the mean that we just got, and then we're squaring it. And once we're done adding all of that up, we'll divide by the number of data we have, which is our n here on the bottom. Now, to do this, I have made a table, and you've noticed that I put every single height in the table. We'll get the sum after we've done some calculations here. But the first thing that we're going to do is the inside of those parentheses, x minus mu. X is the stuff that's right here. Mu is the mean that we got just a moment ago. So now I'm going to take x minus mu and put it into this column. 76 minus the mean of 75.8. And when I put that in the calculator, I'll get 0.2. We're going to do that for every single piece of data in that x column. 78 minus 75.8. And that ends up giving us 2.2. And 72 minus 75.8. That ends up giving us a negative number, negative 3.8. 76 minus 75.8 is going to give me 0.2 again, just like it did in the first row. And then finally, 77 minus 75.8 is going to give me 1.2. Now that I have that answer, I'm going to take my answers and square them. So I'm going to take the things I got as answers in this column, and I'm going to square them and put them over here. So I'm going to say 0.2 times 0.2. If I put that in the calculator, that's 0.04. And 2.2 times 2.2. If I put that into the calculator, it's 4.84. And negative 3.8 times negative 3.8. I put that into the calculator, I get 14.44. 0.2 times 0.2 again will be 0.04. And 1.2 times 1.2 will be 1.44. Now, lastly, in this table, I want the sum of all of these x minus mu squared that I just came up with. So I'm going to add this column that I just came up with. I'm going to add 0.04 plus 4.84 plus 14.44 plus 0.04 plus 1.44. And that gives me 20.8. Now, you can see if I had, say, 10 million people in my population, how tedious just making this table would be. Now, we're not even done yet. We're now going to calculate based on the information we got on the table. So our formula calls for the square root. And under that square root, I want to put the sum of the x minus 1 squares. Now, that's what I just came up with. That's the 20.8. So I want to put 20.8. And I want to divide it by the number. N is the number of people in our population. In this case, there's just 5 in this population. So divide it by 5. And if I stick this into my calculator, and when you stick it into your own calculator, make sure you hit the square root button and not the square button. And this ends up being 2.0396. Now be careful that you take this as many decimal places as it asks you for in the homework. Now we'll see that's very tedious. In my next video, I'll talk about how to use Microsoft Excel to help us find this answer very quickly. There's also going to be a video on how to get Microsoft Excel because it's free to you as a KCTCS student.